injury or financial deficiency.
Except for the party paying the ticket.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, so you have to remember, you have to always keep in mind is the first problem is to keep the law within the boundaries of what the law is supposed to be. And then you follow, like I said, is whether it breaks my leg or picks my pocket, right? What is the law?
And regulations confuse that considerably.
Exactly, and then you have this quasi-judicial area of regulation that's really confused the issue across the board.
Ties back into the difference between the peace officer role and the law enforcement role. I mean, just cracked windshield, for example.
Right.
It's against the law to have cracked windshield.
But is it really a threat to peace and safety? Is it really a threat to peace and safety?
No, what it is the ability for that cop in that car
Right.
to pull you over and run your numbers, and he says, you've got hair on your face, you must be a dirtbag, I'm gonna pull you over because your windshield's cracked. But
Right.
then the other guy down the road that's got the cowboy hat and clean shape, and he says, oh, that's a good old boy. Never mind, I can pull him over, but he's got a cracked windshield.
Right, and that's
But
the
those are
problem with...
pretextual stops, a lot of them also looking for something more, which has
Exactly.
to do with exactly what Pat told us, is what they're looking for is first reasonable suspicion and then probable cause, whether it would hold up in trial or not.
Right.
And so that's,
And that outside of what he's saying,
Generations
doing
of
that outside of strict law enforcement, oh, he's a dirtbag, he's got a cracked window, I got a pretext to stop him.
Exactly.
Versus, right, is there really an issue of law enforcement involved here, or is there an issue of peace, of maintenance of peace and health and happiness of the community involved, right? How is that approached, Jeff?
And the reason we elect these guys is because we want to elect people, and I think the reason that the founders had everyone take their own oath is because we want the individuals to decide which laws they believe are
Use your
lawful
brain.
and they're going to enforce, and which ones are purely
The law enforcement
statutory.
mentality allows them to shut off their brain. They don't have to think, and in fact, it dictates that they don't think in the situation, okay? And for a lot of people, that's more convenient. When I discuss in the behavior section of the book, the three fundamental and all of us do them. I do them. When you get to those sections of the book that talks about fundamental human behavior, this is exactly how it happens, is through these basic human behaviors, where it's easier, instead of having to think, and there's a discipline that's involved with maintaining rights and liberties in a constitutional republic. But the law enforcement mentality allows that discipline to go lax, because it takes a lot of the thinking part out of the officers' training, out of the officers carrying out of their duties and responsibilities while on the job. But it's a normal human behavior because it's easier, okay? It is hard to maintain liberty. It's the hardest thing that there is, especially when you are in a job that you deal with scumbags, as well as responsible citizens. And so this is, it is a tough job. The only thing I will say, okay, it's just like, is that's the job you signed up for when you accepted that responsibility. You accepted the difficulty of the discipline involved. So you can't go in there and say, I really have gotten to the point where I really want to just outright rebel. It's just like when I went in the military myself. I knew what I was getting into. It was explained to me very clearly by my dad, who sat on even though I know I was going into a different area, when he sat on a destroyer escort off of Okinawa during the bombardment, right? War and military, and always involves the possibility of breaking things and killing people, especially when you're in intel and special ops, and you're dealing, and physically what happened was I went through the first level of training, but I never qualified as the intel attachment to a SEAL team. I couldn't pass the physical. I had a defect in my hips. I couldn't pass the physical requirements, so I never went past week 1. right? But the thing is that's what the job involves. And so when you use the excuse of is, well, I face the risk every day of getting killed or severely injured, or a fireman who says, I run into burning buildings and that's the job you signed up for, okay? Don't make an excuse about that it's hard to enforce the discipline of your job, and that's the job you signed up for. That's what I really gets under my skin, right? You can respect the job, respect the job and the discipline of the job, but they have to actually effect the discipline of the job to get the respect, okay? Not turn around and say, well, I get kind of a pass because I'm a cop. That one just rubs me absolutely.
That is
the
the
way.
police force mentality is.
Right, I get a pass because I'm a cop. That is absolutely gonna rub me the wrong, and probably is the reason I've been down in handcuffs several times. Because when they invoke that attitude on me, they're gonna get a response as a citizen. And you find out exactly how little respect some of them have when you attempt to voice that, even if you do it in a calm manner. And I learned a long time ago is you do it, you don't go high order on them, right? But you do make sure that they understand that you are a citizen who understands their rights. And invariably, in the current environment, I wind up on the ground in handcuffs, okay? Because of this lack of respect, even when I'm doing nothing that is my hands are like this, I'm talking in a low, comfortable voice, and I'm explaining to them that they are engaging in a violation of my rights. Oh, you're a smart ass, are you?
I just got a question for you on that. When you've been arrested, did you take any action against the police?
Oh yeah, well, in Colorado Springs, I filed probably 12 different complaints. Well, like I said, this was part of the stuff that went on with Douglas Bruce and I over a lot of it was related to stuff we were doing. And we were recognized because our faces showed up at a lot of city council meetings and county commission. Especially when we tried to cut the budget of the city of Colorado Springs police. You just don't make a lot of friends when you do those things. And that was related to a lot of it. But they were out looking for an excuse. And that's part of the problem is abuse of authority. When you get involved in these things. So,
Jeff, it's lunchtime.
and he's pointing a knife at me, so whatever he says, anyway, we'll continue after lunch.
What's that? How much for lunch? Listen, don't you go some money or you say you're going to see money? We're eating lunch now.
Can they take over and we're in charge? All of the propaganda. That's why
I got some money. I do too.
You've been good for 3 hours. I don't know if they're going to take a lot more.
Oh, listen, I got plenty of money. Oh, do you? Yes, you want some 5, 10, or 20? Yeah. About 20. You think that'll be enough for all of us? Yeah, and listen, well, we won't have to pay for it.
I really appreciate it. If you don't get out over here again.